Let's stay with this. President Cyril Ramaphosa has sent his condolences to the people of Turkey and Syria. Ramaphosa says South Africa and the government are deeply saddened by the unthinkable loss of life. He expressed his appreciation to the gift of the givers, which is joining the international response in Turkey and Syria. And there's also another foundation that is sending help to those affected. Let's speak to them now. Ziyaad Patel, a trustee of Al-Imdaad Foundation, joins us live now. Thank you so much for your time. A desperate situation on the ground and a race for time. What are those who are there telling you?
Undoubtedly, it is a very sad situation. It is a very dire situation. In fact, myself, I just got back yesterday from the region. Al-Imdaad Foundation has a very strong presence in this area. The reason being is that it's a very highly concentrated, highly densely populated area, especially made up of Syrian refugees. So here we have two situations, an area which houses so many Syrian refugees, and now having these two devastating earthquakes, which has affected the region, has made a dire situation even more dire. And our ground sources, our teams on the ground are saying to us, it is a run and a fight right now for resources, basic amenities, basic life-saving amenities, such as food, clean water. And right now, to top that list, people need shelter. People need shelter. With regards to the weather, it is extremely bitterly cold. It is bitterly cold. So we have different angles to this disaster. One is the earthquake, one is the refugee crisis, and the weather, which is also making it much more difficult.
And I was going to ask you about that, because we do understand that temperatures are set to fall to near freezing, and this is likely to complicate the situation even further.
So actually, just a few days back, I was in the city of Gaziantep. We had visited all these areas that have been affected, and we were conducting our annual Operation Winter Warmth, because this is one part of the world which experiences some of the most bitter winters one can ever imagine. And then to find that so many people live in makeshift shelters, some are still in tents, some are still in container homes. So year in and year out, we normally would go out, venture out into the region and help and assist people with basic winter warmers. So now, with the situation so dire and the snow starting to fall, and with this earthquake, one can just imagine, this is a catastrophe. Simply speaking, there's no other way to describe this. This is a humanitarian catastrophe at epic levels, and this is playing out right in front of our eyes.
And as you alluded pardon me, as you alluded to earlier on, that, you know, it's a scramble for resources now. Are the authorities and those who are helping on the ground able to meet this particular need?
So the reason being, there's a scramble for resources. Two of the airports are closed. One of the airports, the runway has been damaged. So we are facing logistical challenges. Hence, there is a fight for resources right now, because there are available amenities in other parts of Turkey, but to get them into these areas, every aid organization right now are facing logistical challenges. In fact, even to get in certain rescue teams has become a mission and a half. But with all of that set aside, we will continue to persevere and we will continue to overcome. And I can assure you that the human spirit is very, very, very strong in such situations. And we are South Africans. We are one nation which really stands out, especially when it comes to these kind of disasters across the globe. Whether it has been Haiti, whether it has been Pakistan, South Africans have always rallied, and we've always expressed our expertise, our experience in helping and assisting people, playing our role, our humanitarian role on the international platform. So South African organizations such as the Al-Imdaad Foundation, we will leave no stone unturned in making sure that we facilitate essential emergency relief aid to these communities that have been affected. And as I speak to you right now, as I speak to you, we are conducting distribution of hot meals to those communities that have been affected.
And how concerned are you, as we're seeing the number rise, you know, every hour of those who have died? How concerned are you that we could reach and even breach that 10,000 mark that some are even, you know, starting to talk about possibly?
To be frank and honest with you, I can assure you that we are going to hit that 10,000 mark, because this is a very densely populated area of the world. We do a lot of humanitarian work in this part of the world, so we know the area and the region very, very well. We have a great track record and experience in working in this area. It's a densely populated area. 2,818 buildings have come down. Right now, there's a search and rescue teams cannot even cope. They cannot even cope. There are screams coming out of these buildings, from the rubble of these buildings. People are still stuck alive under these buildings. It's something which is extraordinary. One cannot even fathom that we are actually experiencing something like this in today's modern day era. But this is the reality. 2 earthquakes, 7.8 hit in a span of 12 hours, and there were over 1,000 aftershocks within these 2 earthquakes. So this is a catastrophe. There's no other way to describe this. A catastrophe at monstrous magnitude. There's no other way to describe this. This is huge. This is epic. You know, we as humanitarians, we only see a disaster that is literally once a decade. And this is exactly what is playing out before our eyes. So yeah, this is how it is right now.
I know that you say that your team is currently providing, hot meals. Are you then sending more people to then be able to assist with this? Because as you say, it's so densely populated. So certainly there's a lot more help that is required.
I myself, I got back yesterday from the region. I'll be back on the flight tomorrow back into Turkey. We are in consultation and we are in communication with the various Turkish authorities. They do know of us. They do know of the Al-Imdaad Foundation. They do know of our presence and what we do on the ground. They have warmly welcomed us. And imagine for Turkey to declare this as an international emergency, that just tells you how dire the situation is. So yes, we will be having follow-up teams continuously until there will be some normality in the region. But honestly, and to be frank with you, just an hour or so ago, I received information that even on the Syrian side, which is to a certain degree a war zone, the situation is even more dire because it's virtually a logistical challenge, and it is difficult to filter in and send in certain rescue teams onto the Syrian side. So can you imagine there are so many angles to this disaster?
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that to see if at all your help could spread to that part as well, because we spoke to one of our reporters from Brussels as well earlier on, talking about the difficulties getting into that war zone, in Syria, and how difficult it might be to get help to those people there. So will you then also be stretching your hand towards them?
If the Turkish authorities give us the necessary permission, and if they give us the green light, and of course it is with the official humanitarian delegation, then under the auspiciousness of the Turkish government and the international community, we will enter and also render our assistance to those people in need. And to be frank and honest with you, because this is a war zone, there is not much resources, the situation is extremely bad, there are so many different challenges, and that's why security is also a huge challenge. So one can just imagine how bad the situation is over the border. If on the Turkish side we are seeing so much, and must remember we're still only seeing the official reports and the footage coming out of Turkey, no one has yet sent through footage of what has happened on the Syrian side. You know, I actually want to cry. That's how deeply affected I am by this situation. This comprehending and trying to understand how magnanimous and how huge this humanitarian catastrophe is on the Syrian as well as the Turkish zones of the world.
And I suppose then the call would be for more people to get involved, to help where they can.
Yes, this is going to be a long-term story. It's going to be a long-term reaction and a response to this disaster. Trust me, we're going to have to look at putting up IDP camps, internally displaced people's camps, where we need to erect tents. We will need to see to the feeding and to the basic necessities of these individuals. So trust me, you had already an issue and a problem with Syrian refugees where they need to be housed and taken care of. Now you also find that the general Turkish community, they are also suffering. Just imagine 2,818 buildings have collapsed, have come down. How many families are now going to be displaced? How many families won't have a roof? How many families won't have shelter? So all of these arrangements need to be taken care of, and we need to extend our humanitarian hearts and arms and hands in this time of crisis. And this is the reason why the Turkish authorities have declared this as an international emergency, asking for the international community to respond, because we have so many different dynamics to this disaster.
Ziyaad, one can't even begin to describe what is happening on the ground. And as we watch, reading a report where a journalist says they could hear someone saying, I'm losing strength, that is so disturbing. And you cannot even imagine, the scale of destruction here. But thank you so much for your time. We'll touch base with you even when you get there, just to see if there's anything at all that you are able to tell us about what is unfolding there on the ground. That's Ziyaad Patel, a trustee of Al-Imdaad Foundation. They are there, the team is there on the ground providing hot meals to those affected, and he'll also be heading out to be able to assist with this particular disaster, and we'll continue to bring you more on this developing story.